I'm Dennis Ferris, and this is the Limitless Energy Podcast. And we're here in Tampa at the RV Super Show, and we're going to take advantage of this opportunity to bring on some very interesting guests. I'm pleased to welcome to the podcast Mr. Nathan Wagler, Chief Operating Officer of nuCamp.
Thanks for having me.
So let's get right into it. Tell us about nuCamp.
nuCamp is a small company located in Sugar Creek, Ohio. We manufacture teardrop trailers and truck campers. Founded about 15 years ago by Joe Mullet, who was an Amish preacher at the time and kind of jack of all trades, had done a bunch of different businesses, just, I guess, serial entrepreneur. Had been in farming and lawn furniture and had built some steel buildings. And he had been in all these different businesses and really an innovator. He would come up with new things all the time. So he would build lawn furniture, and he would come up with a really cool new design, and he would release it. And 3 weeks later, everybody in the area that makes lawn furniture has the same design. And he was really looking for different opportunities to get out of areas where people could copy what he was doing.
He's an innovator and a trendsetter, too.
So he'd come up with just like a cool new glider or rocker or different design, and people would just knock it off. And so in the area we're in, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of Amish people, and they like to be self-employed. And so they do furniture. I think there's 150, 200 furniture manufacturers in a 40-mile radius, and they supply all the stores and stuff. And so he was in that business. And then in the winters, it was lawn furniture, so in the winters he would do some other stuff. He did some steel building, had a crew, he'd go put up steel buildings. And the guy that he was building a steel building for was like, hey, you can do a little bit of anything. Do you want, have you ever heard of a teardrop trailer? And he's like, I've no idea what that is. He's like, well, you got to come up and look at this. Used car dealer. He's like, I've got one. I want to see if you can build them for me. And so he came up and met the guy, took cardboard and traced out the shape of this teardrop trailer and was like, hey, I'm going to go try to build one of these. So he went back in his garage and took the cardboard and cut out plywood and made sidewalls, and he built this teardrop trailer, and he made it for the guy. And the guy's like, can you make me another one? And so it just started from there into this slow growth of doing a little bit of this on the side. And this guy was a used car dealer, so he had his buddies who were used car dealers because there's that network all over the country. And they started being like, hey, can you make some for this guy? And so he started to grow it up until 2008 when everything slowed down and Joe wasn't immune to the RV industry kind of hitting a wall. And these used car dealers weren't adding teardrop trailers and bringing things to their lot. And so he got to the point he was going out of business, and got connected with a distributor who had called him actually the day he decided to close his doors. Got a phone call from this guy. He's like, hey, another guy who's like, are you still building these? He's like, no, we've had to shut it down. We're, in a lot of debt and don't have orders and all this stuff. And the guy's like, we need to talk. And so Friday of that same week, it was like Wednesday to Friday, he was in this office up in Canton, and they're having a conversation of, hey, we have a manufacturer in Elkhart, but they're not doing well, and we want to have some new manufacturing, and we thought of you. And so they're having this conversation. They're like, okay, we'll get it started back up. And that's where he met Scott Hubble, our CEO, who was doing marketing consulting for this distributor at the time. Mm-hmm. And so they met there, and over the years developed the friendship that has now led to Scott being in leadership in our company. But so they started out building, and they wanted to take off, and they said, Joe, they started, he did like 50, and then he did 150 units, and they're about at 150, and they said, can you build us 500 units next year if we need them? And Joe, being an entrepreneur, said yes. And then he had to figure out how to make that happen, because as you know, with entrepreneurs and starting your own thing, you believe you can do anything, and then you got to bring your team along.
So, well, it's interesting that this wasn't someone who said, all right, I see a need in the RV industry, and they went and it was kind of like almost an artist, and he was making furniture and other things, and he was like, yeah, I guess I can make this. But it sort of did fill a need.
It did fill a need within kind of just that small campers, the retro look. Obviously, there's cycles to any design or look. We see that in many industries, fashion and furniture and interior design. There's cycles, things that, you know, as we were kids, we're like, that's the ugliest carpet ever, and now you're starting to see it come back 30 years later into different things. There's that cycle, and so the vintage teardrop shape has been around for years and years and years, and it kind of came back in as people have moved a little bit more minimalist, want to have something that's theirs, it's unique, it's very much personalized. So we have all these color options, and when you see those different things like that grew, even in the early days, we have a picture in our office from when there was 10 people, and the trailer load of campers that are on there, there's an orange one and a yellow one and a blue one, and they're these bright colors. They're just super personalized, and so it's this retro bright colors things going where people are just have, they want to express their personality and how they camp.
Well, there's the aesthetics of the teardrop
Yeah.
shape, but what about the functionality? I mean, is there a need that it's addressing functionally?
Functionally, it's small. A lot of the small teardrops, you see people coming out of tent camping, and they want something,
right.
as they don't want to show up and set up a tent and do that. They want to have somewhere to cook, and so with the back hatch door, having a small kitchen, but they're outside. They want their bed indoors where it's dry, some conditioning of the air. They want to be comfortable, but they want to be outside. They're not looking to be in their camper and hang out indoors when they go to the campground. They're planning to be outdoors, and so it gives them the ability to cook outdoors, do all the things they're going to do outdoors, but then they're inside in a secure area with conditioned air to sleep.
Yeah,
and so it's kind of the best of both worlds.
It's as close as you can get to tent camping.
Yeah. Well, and then they're lightweight. So our lightest units are in that 1,300 to 1,900 pounds, and so if you've got a Subaru Outback with a nice towing package, you're sticking it behind there, and you're not having to buy a truck, you're not having to buy a large SUV. And so you see a lot of people that camp as an individual. You don't want to have to go get an F-150 just to get a camper.
Mm-hmm.
You've got what you want, and then maybe it's just a small SUV with a tow package, and you can handle it. You can see it to back it up. You can kind of see around it and over it, and so it's less intimidating for that new camper. They don't have to worry about learning all these things about backing a trailer in the same way.
Right. No, that makes sense.
So it's kind of that need within there. We do see a lot of individuals that solo camp, and so they're perfect for that because you don't need all the amenities. If you're getting outdoors as an individual, you're an adventurer. You want to be out, and you're also looking to be out and around and meeting people where you're at and having community at the campground. That's why you get out there.
That is pretty mainstream. That is pretty unique among the mainstream RV companies, RV designs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of boutique type. You're a little bigger. I think you're more, in the Indiana, Ohio area at least, and so folks know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
But how does that relate to the current RV slowdown that we're in? You talked about 2008. Well, we're in a similar situation now. Do you think that sort of protects you or insulates nuCamp from those slowdowns?
We have some variations. We've been very strategic in how we manufacture. So looking back to 2017, the last time we had a cycle of a slowdown in the market, 2017 was a record year, highest year ever to date at that point in the RV industry. And retail sales were high and pull-through was high, and we got into a situation where as nuCamp, we had been in this exponential growth phase from when Joe came back in 2009 and 10 and took off and then acquired the tab in 12. We had never been able to fill the appetite for the product they were building. They just couldn't. It was, hey, we built 1,500, and then we needed, if we could build 2,000 the next year, there was dealership for it. There was space, and there was pull-through because it was new and it was unique. And as you grow in business, you start to get to that point where you have to have a repeatable cycle. You can't just exponentially grow year over year over year in a market where there's only so many spaces in the RV industry. Mm-hmm. Obviously, up until we grew to that point, there wasn't as much competition or similarly shaped RVs in the market. As we grew and built the tab and added a bathroom to it that had never been in it, that really took off for us, and it's been our flagship unit. But in 18, we hit this wall in June where dealers didn't need anything, and the orders weren't coming in, they weren't seeing pull through, and we ran into this like, well, we've never been here before. What do we do? And so at the end of 18, a decision was made among the leadership team to say, we're not going to get there again. We're going to build for scarcity. We have a unique product. Yeah, there will be lead times at times to get stuff, but we're not going to get in a position where we're overstaffed and we don't have work for our team. Because ultimately what we do at nuCamp is about our team first and the people that are in our building, and then our customer. And I say it to everybody that we talk about, we start with people and we end with people, and if we ever forget about one of those groups, we've kind of lost the point of being in business.
So that's unique in the industry, that they tend to grow with the cycle and then lay off with the cycle, or furlough with the cycle. Yeah,
so we've been able to fend off the majority of the slowdown. We've reduced production by about 20% from where we were. We have 2 lines that are running 5 days a week, full speed, haven't slowed down, and then we have 3 lines that are running 4 days essentially. They're done in 4 days with their production run. But we've just stabilized our levels where it's sustainable. We're not building a bunch of inventory, but we're not oversaturating our dealers. And so just really watching those numbers so that we're not as susceptible to ebbs and flows in the market. Trying to take out the highs, take out the lows. It's just a little bit different philosophy, but when you're focused on your team and your people and having a sustainable company for years and years, you have to figure out that it's not just chasing the high when it's there, because you end up sacrificing your people. They either get burned out or they leave, or you end up with the wrong people because they're there just for the dollars.
Right. Well, I mean, as a supplier to nuCamp, we appreciate having, it's a very steady, order level. So, it helps suppliers too.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, let's talk about the power system on the trailer. And, you guys went to lithium pretty quick. And what is the typical energy usage among your customer base? Do they use a high amount of energy for a Teardrop customer?
We have a unique customer base in that, like I said, we find that a lot of them are highly educated and they're independent and they get out, and so they like the intricacy of our build. And a lot of times, we have electrical engineers that reach out and they want to inform us how systems could be better and things. And so we have a great community that gives feedback.
Yeah, we get those calls
I'm
too.
I'm sure. But we were seeing a lot of our people want to get off grid, and because again, they want to be outside. They want to do things outside. They're not looking for a camper to set up in a campground and be plugged in. And so they want to they're going to be outside, but they want to have AC because they're in the desert, or they're not close to hookups. They've bought an RV that has AC and all those functions. They want to be able to use it, but we weren't providing a system that allowed them to, because the standard in the industry is dealers provide the batteries, because if they sit on a unit for 6 months and we provided a battery, now it's halfway through its warranty, it hasn't been charged appropriately, and different things like that. And so we were needing to, if we were going to offer batteries, it had to be something that was going to be sustainable, that would last, that's in the warranty period. Again, good for our customer, where they're not getting something that's halfway through. And it gives them the ability to go out and run their AC when they're off grid. Everything we have comes with solar standard. We kind of run those numbers, and as we had the percentages get over 70%, people were taking solar over 70% of the time. So we said, look, we'll just roll it into the build. It's one less thing for our dealers. Again, as we talk vendor partners, dealer partners, it's one less thing for the dealer to decide, do I want to carry them with or without? Because then you don't have what the customer wants, and you have to order something custom because I don't have a solar unit in that color. So when we made it standard, it allowed them to have better customer relations because they were more likely to have what they wanted. You're not going to not buy it because it has solar. You might not buy it because it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of that mentality. So then we wanted to develop more power. Our dealers actually, we watch our social media. Our customer experience team is watching. They all have different groups that they watch as part of their job when they're not taking calls. They're kind of monitoring what is the feedback, what are people doing, even just like what are they saying, good, bad, whatever it is. And we try to respond on our social, but we try to send those questions to the right place so we can get in touch with somebody who has a legitimate question on Facebook that maybe they haven't even come to us, where our community's helping them and we want to learn. But we were seeing a lot of people use Battleborn. And, an American company that's based in Reno, good advertising. You guys have had great customer experience, reviews. And so we were looking at, hey, we want a good system, but we also want to partner with somebody that has the customer experience mindset that we have, of that person's use of this battery is the goal, not the sale of the battery is the goal. Because we promise unparalleled customer support within our community. It's in our pledge to our customers. It's in their book when they buy their camper. This is what you're getting. And we heard that time and time again within, we listened to your marketing and we saw it there, but we heard it from our customers as we watched the community say, hey, I put Battleborns in and they were great and they walked me through it. Because again, electrical engineer is putting his own stuff in and he's talking to Eric or Brandon and they're walking him through the install of, you need to do this or this. And so we were seeing it. And then actually one of our dealers pointed out, they're like, hey, we are tearing out, like we're finding space and we're installing these full Battleborn packages into your units. Why don't you do that? Because we don't have the time at the dealer level to bring a new unit into the shop and spend a week taking it apart and rewiring it and doing everything. Can you offer it as an option? Because your customers want it. And so really, again, in a different way than we did it back in 16 and 17 during growth, listening to our dealers and our customers and saying, okay, that's what you guys want, and this company aligns, let's figure out a system. And so a year ago, at the Tampa show in 22, I just approached Wade. He'd been calling on us for 3 years. And I said, hey, I know you've stopped in like 5 times and, we've just talked and kind of had this relationship. I said, we're ready to have a conversation about developing packages for our units because our customers need them. They're using them. They want to be out there.
That's great to hear because it kind of worked for us. It kind of worked by design.
Yeah.
We definitely use social media ourselves and as good customer service as we could provide to convince the end user to use our batteries. And at the same time, we had, Wade and Josh knocking on doors in Elkhart. And eventually it was the customers asking the OEMs to, hey, these are great batteries. You should be putting these batteries in. So it kind of worked. So.
Well, and it speaks to that. When you build a product that's exceptional or you build a product that people buy, they're going to start pushing back farther up and saying, hey, we want that factory installed. Like, we can do it. And then there's the people that aren't electrical engineers, but they want it and they're terrified by the idea of just taking it to a dealer. Our dealer relationships are great and those are awesome, but there's that comfort level that comes with having had it installed at the factory, because you're calling the factory to say, hey, I have this problem, or you're calling Battleborn direct because they endorse the OEM install, they've worked together so they can troubleshoot the system because they know the system. It's not, well, I don't know how that was done specifically. And so I think that's been good we're seeing that with some of the buyers at this point, where there is a little more peace of mind and they'll bite off the chunk of a $10,000 lithium system because it was installed at the factory and it is going to be under their normal warranty and there's not something different that they have to follow up, and they have the peace of mind. Then it's educating them, I think, on using it correctly, which I could probably use some help with because I don't understand all the stuff you could talk about either. But
well, you know where to call.
Yeah.
Any questions? Yeah. Well, let's talk about you, Nathan. How did you end up in this industry, in this role? Do you
I
like
mean,
to RV? Do you like to camp?
I haven't camped that much. We were just talking about that with some of our guys. We're like, we feel like within the industry we enjoy being here, but a lot of us didn't grow up camping as much.
You're from Ohio?
I am not. I grew up in Southern Ontario, up in Canada. Was from that area. My mom was from the Elkhart area. Grew up in White Pigeon, Michigan, and so had a lot of family in the RV industry. Lots of my cousins and aunts and uncles have worked in the RV industry, and so I knew of the industry kind of my whole life. But living at a distance, we were 6 hours away in Ontario, and we'd be in and out, and we'd see what's going on, right in Middlebury and in Elkhart, and so I knew about it. But then, long story short, moved around a little bit. After I was 18, I lived in the Middlebury area and traveled the U.S., did some Bible college in Ohio, and spent a couple years in Arizona working with inner city kids, and met a girl from Sugar Creek, Ohio. And we started dating, and so I moved to Sugar Creek in 2011 while we were dating, got married and settled down there, and was working in kind of a customer service role. I was an installer doing countertops, quartz countertops, and go in people's homes and deal with the customer, and through some friends, got a offer to go work for a commercial contractor doing estimating on hotels and nursing homes. And so I started into commercial construction, learning how that went, doing takeoffs of that, and learning how a project is set up and how you run a construction project from a budgeting standpoint and all of those things. And then moved into writing contracts, and then eventually managing projects, and was managing hotel builds and nursing home builds. And so that's what I was doing from a work standpoint. But during that time, Jesse Mullet, who's Joe's son, Jesse's now our owner and president at nuCamp, Jesse and I became great friends running. We did distance running together. We started running half marathons and marathons. And so we spent 15 hours a week together on the road.
Do you still run together?
No, he runs a lot faster than I do, and he gets bored waiting for me, and I'm just always out of breath. So, no, he was just starting in 2012. We started running together, and he had just joined the company. He had spent years building storage sheds on site. So he worked for a local company that built storage sheds, and he traveled the area and would go on site with a kit on a trailer and have to set it up on site with everything that was there, and about efficiency and about not wasting a step. And so he joined the company in 2012, and he's brought a ton of efficiency to our manufacturing process and cleanliness and organization, because he had years of running a crew. But during that time in 2012, we were running, and we just spent all this time. Well, I had some family in the RV industry, and so they were getting ready to build a building, and we're talking, and I was like, hey, we could probably go get some tours out there. Like, we can make some phone calls and see. And so we did a day trip to Elkhart and toured some facilities and looked at how things were set up and how to lay out a production facility. And we learned a bunch. Well, he learned a bunch. I wasn't working there yet, but learned a bunch about how people do different things. Like, how do you flip a trailer from upside down easily and safely, to put your stuff on. And so as they were laying out their facility, I was involved in that process. I helped him build racking in the facility on Saturdays because we were both bored and we needed something to do. And so we spent all this time and just kind of talking through, and eventually Jesse just called me. He's like, hey, I know you're doing construction and doing project management. At the end, as they got to the end of 18, they're like, hey, we've been going through this growth for years, and we want to continue to grow, but we want it to be sustainable and get a good systems, and how do we work to, departments together and get the work in the right places, because as you grow a company, just everybody wears 7 hats. And you figure it out. And then you get to a certain point, you're like, okay, we should probably have somebody that does that all the time, because now that's too much. And so he was like, hey, do you want to come on board, come interview, and look at coming in and helping with process and system and getting everybody on the same page. And so I was like, I'll entertain it. I'm always open for something new. And so came in and talked with them, and joined the team.
That sounds like the perfect job, since you came from an RV family, at least,
Yeah.
in the industry, and then you had at least, project management experience
Yeah.
in construction. So.
And so it's interesting. The biggest piece I said that makes my job easy is, one, when I came to nuCamp, I've never been at a company where the level of person was so high, just across the board. Every individual that we have on the team was just, I'd never seen that in a company of 200 people, where the hiring process had been in place, the culture had been in place from Joe and Scott and the team putting this together and just living this culture of having a people first mentality. Worked for great companies and treasured those relationships with those people. But it was just so interesting. Coming in, I inherited this team of people that was already caring about each other, was already focused on making a great product. And so streamlining a group of people that all get paid out of the same pot versus doing construction where half your conversations are, well, who's going to pay for that? Because that's not my contract. Again, you're mediating for people in a big project where you've got 50 contractors. The plumber did this, so now the electrician has to fix something, and then the framer has to come through. Well, everybody's getting paid a little bit more, but you're trying to section off who does what work and where is it in the contract and how do you do it. And so a lot of those concepts transferred for me into, okay, now we want to build process, so who should be doing this work? And almost I just use that background of what contract should this be in mindset, where it was, okay, if I was writing this, who would I designate that I want to do this all the time? And so those things really worked. I want to get into camping more, but life gets so busy.
I hear you. Yeah.
It's like
you're busy running a company.
but it's that other side of, my wife and I love it. We did a Smoky Mountains trip this last year with our son, who's 6, and we showed up with no agenda. We did like one show and none of the tourist stuff. We went hiking, and that we love to be outside and do that. And so it's more just grabbing a unit and going, and just making the plan. So we've talked about it, and that's one of our focuses in the coming years, is to just grab a unit. We've been talking about just getting out in our units, as an executive team, grabbing those prototype model year units that we're just going to have on hand anyway, and say, hey, let's go test these out and see how we like them with one child or by ourselves, or how that works. And so we're getting there, but it's when you're building a company or you're working through a bunch of stuff, to find time to run away and go set up a campsite for the weekend is extra.
Well, I think everything that you said as to your background and the philosophy of your company really speaks to why we work so well together. And thank you so much for stopping by the program here, Nathan. And I'm sure we're going to continue to work together for years to come.
Looking forward to it.
That's going to do it for the show. I'd like to thank today's guest, Nathan Wagler, Chief Operating Officer of nuCamp.